to the Crooked Table podcast, where we discuss the world of film from a fresh angle. And now your host, Robert Yanis Jr.
Welcome to the Crooked Table podcast. This is Rob. On this show, we democratize the film criticism conversation by bringing on fans and critics alike to dig into their personal connection to a current or classic release. You can find more episodes of the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and other podcatchers, as well as crookedtable.com. And this week, I am welcoming back to the show Kim Foster. Welcome back.
Thank you, Rob. I'm very excited to be here and to talk about my favorite Christmas movie.
So this week we're talking about Scrooged, which is obviously sort of a modern adaptation of A Christmas Carol. So what is are you like me in that, you know, around the holidays, and this is something that my mom and I have in common, is that we're really fascinated and really interested in the story of A Christmas Carol and all its many adaptations. I haven't done extensive research on this, but I assume that's probably one of the most adapted stories of all time. Is that a thing that do you watch multiple different versions of this story, or is it really centered on Scrooged?
It's really centered on Scrooged. I've seen the other versions and I've just never liked them as much.
Okay.
I think there might be one that has Donald Duck or his uncle.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
McDuff.
Mickey's Christmas Carol. Yeah.
Yes. So if I've seen any of them more, it would be that one. Now, I know my sister likes one, which I believe stars Patrick Stewart.
Right.
And I don't think I've seen that. And I would think that one would be good because I like Patrick Stewart. But Scrooge, to me, is a really good version of A Christmas Carol. And it just, I don't know, it hit a chord, and it's my favorite Christmas movie.
No, it's a solid pick. There's so many. There's a bunch of versions that I saw growing up. The Mickey one, like you mentioned, the Muppet Christmas Carol, big Muppet fan over here. That's one of my favorite.
That's true. There is the Muppet version
with Michael Caine, which the cool thing about that version is that you can almost take the Muppets out, and it's like Michael Caine delivers a pretty solid performance as really the only main human actor in the movie. And,
oh my gosh.
And he's so good in that. It's an impressive performance just on its own. But it's become a thing that there are so many versions. Like everyone has at least one version of the story that they break out every Christmas. And, you know, for Kai and I, there are a few Christmas movies that we watch on a regular basis that we both enjoy equally, you know, and this is one of them. This is maybe one of the only ones that, you know, I'll be like, you want to watch this? She's like, but this, she's like, when are we going to watch Scrooged? And so I saved this one to watch, you know, together because she really enjoys it. And I think she grew up with it as well. So, were you already I guess we should let's talk about Bill Murray generally, and then we'll talk about this movie itself. Are you a big Bill Murray fan in general, or does this just okay? There you go. I had a feeling.
I mean, Stripes, you know, Caddyshack. Although he's not my favorite in Caddyshack, but Stripes, Ghostbusters, yes.
Groundhog Day.
I always liked Bill Murray. And to have him star in this, I thought he did such a good job. You see the evolution of his character, which I just think I liked it. And it was modern for the time. I started thinking about that today. I mean, it was made in 1988. So it's 32 years old. Mm-hmm. That's right. That's the math. Yeah. So it's an older movie, but it doesn't feel like it is.
I think maybe the some of the technology, obviously, but and some of the fashion. But other than that, it feels to me, I think, and there are probably other modern versions of A Christmas Carol. But I feel like this might have been what really popularized that approach to the story. And it's just such a classic. You know, I found myself really drawn over the years to redemption arcs. It's two of my favorite Christmas stories are A Christmas Carol and The Grinch, because they're both like this grumpy person who's living on their own, cut off from the world, and then, you know, develops a heart basically by the end. And there's something that I've really over the years noticed that's an arc that I really respond to. I really love, one of my favorite movies is Jerry Maguire, which is very much that kind of movie.
Yeah.
He starts off sort of like, just like a kind of a suit, and like throughout the course of it develops like not only a sense of conscience of what he's doing and how it's affecting people, and then by the end, it's kind of like self-actualizes, I guess, a little bit, and is, as the kids say now, living his best life. And I think that there's something really universal in that theme, and I think that's probably a big part of why people keep going back to it in versions of A Christmas Carol itself.
Well, you mentioned the word redemption, and I think that's, excuse me, interesting, because that's one of the things Kelly mentioned that he likes so much, and that's what he looks for in movies is redemption. And this movie definitely demonstrates that. His character has redemption at the end. You might not say that for, like, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Right. There may not be much redemption in that one. Although if we searched for it, we could find it. That's my second favorite Christmas movie. But in Scrooged, you do have redemption for his character.
Yeah, I think that, and it's helpful that Bill Murray has that range. And I think maybe at this point in his career, mainstream audiences hadn't really seen that, how well he can modulate both sides of that. Because a lot of times in things like Ghostbusters, he's more, or Groundhog Day, which is another one that kind of.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I forgot that one.
He's just more like that's also a redemption arc actually too. But it's more, he's just the sarcastic asshole who's like, I don't know if I don't really care about any of this. Right. Just like that's Peter Venkman. That's like kind of his persona. So to see him evolve over the course of the movie, I think is really satisfying, because that was his screen persona. Maybe not quite as intense as Frank Cross in this movie, but that was Bill Murray's, like, his jam. That was right. That was sort of what you went to see. To see Bill Murray kind of be like
his humor.
That guy. Yeah.
It's interesting if you look at movie reviews on Scrooged. I was actually surprised how many negative ones there were. I never thought some of the things that they were saying, like it was so mean-spirited and it was really negative. And I'm thinking the people, and these were movie critics, but I'm also thinking the original A Christmas Carol, Scrooged was not a nice person. He was a mean person. So because Bill Murray can play it perhaps in a bigger sense, in a bigger personality, he can be more mean and more caustic than perhaps Dickens envisioned Scrooge to be. But that movie was so creative. When you look at how they start the movie with the commercials, Cajun Christmas with Robert Goulet, going through the swamp, and Lee Majors, you've been a really good boy this
Let's before we get into that, let's cue up the trailer, and then no, you're getting ahead of it. I love it. But you made a good point about the reviews. They're apparently, I did take a look at that too, and a lot of people are either it's too mean-spirited or it's too sentimental, and I'm like, well, which is it?
Right.
It kind of, the whole point is it starts mean-spirited and becomes sentimental. That's the character's arc. But before we let's listen to a little bit of the trailer for Scrooged from 1988 right now.
Frank Cross is more than the youngest network president in television history.
Call security. Have them change his locks and toss him out of the building.
Oh, he's fired? It's Christmas.
Thank you. Call accounting. Stop his bonus. Watch out.
He's a thoughtful boss.
Thanks, boys. Get the nurse.
A generous brother.
What did he give you last year?
I don't remember. A shower curtain. Ma'am, I think you dropped something here.
And a true humanitarian.
I can't get the antlers glued onto this little guy. We've tried crazy glue.
Have you tried Staples?
But his life is about to change.
Woo-wee! That was a good one.
You are going to be visited by 3 ghosts tomorrow at noon.
God, tomorrow's bad for me, Lou. As a matter of fact, the whole rest of the week is a washout.
Anyone who thinks he hates Christmas is wrong.
Jersey, you moron!
It's ghosts he hates.
That was a little bit of the trailer for Scrooge from 1988, directed by Richard Donner of Superman the Movie, Lethal Weapon. But you were saying about the beginning of the movie and how it starts with that cold open, the night the reindeer died. So go ahead, get into that, because I kind of want to see that movie. Is that weird?
No, you want to say, what the heck, the night the reindeer died? So we saw it in the theater in 1988. So this isn't a movie that we've come across over the years. This is the one that Kelly and I both fell in love with in 1988 in the movie theater before Christmas. And you see these ads basically on the big screen, and it cracked us up right away. I mean, how creative were some of the things, especially June Cleaver. Mm-hmm. And if I know your father, he's out chasing beaver, and you're sitting there going, "Oh my God, I can't believe she just said that." And it's so funny. But one thing, so if I can jump just as they, so they show, I can't think of what his name is, but Frank Cross goes, "Oh my gosh, you showed America's favorite old fart reading a book, sitting in front of a fireplace reading a book," and then he cues his promo. So this is one example I would use as a movie that has been edited for release. When you watched that movie on the big screen in 1988, and he's showing his promo, and they talk about freeway shootings. In the original promo, they show it. Mm-hmm. They show the person gets out, and you see the person with a shotgun. The screen then is covered in blood.
Wow. Damn.
Yeah. And you were sitting there going, "Holy moly." You don't see that in the movie release. They cut it out. And I think they didn't need it, but I remember seeing that in the movie theater being a little disturbed, because they really did show they didn't show the person getting shot, but you see the blood hit like the windshield.
Yeah.
And you don't see that.
Well, then that makes sense too, because that's what Bobcat points out. He's like, "Oh, maybe lose the part with the gun and the blood."
Yeah, that's what that's in reference to.
Yeah.
That's a change that the movie made, but it also, I think that's a better change. Mm-hmm. They actually, if I can I leap to another movie, they do that in Home Alone too, also. Because when that movie came out, we saw that in the movie theater. And then you see the released movie when Kevin sets up the whole house in New York as a booby trap. In part of that movie, they show him looking directly at the camera as he increases the voltage as they're getting shocked, mm-hmm. and he's laughing and smiling. You don't see that in the movie release. Wow. So that's another example of, maybe a movie company deciding this was too extreme for a Christmas movie, and they edited it out. So, segue to another movie, but
yeah, no, that's a good point. It does go. It is a very intense opening, and I think with that would have been a little too intense. This is still a PG-13 movie, and it's still a holiday movie, so you're still going to take kids to see it, presumably. Even though I would argue this is really not a movie for kids. It's pretty scary in parts. I feel like
it is.
Especially, and we're getting ahead, but when, what's his name? When Lou shows up, the ghost of John Forsythe as Lou.
Yes.
That's really kind of a scary scene when he holds his neck and out the window and he's grabbing and his arm, it's like the flesh and the muscle are coming off. It's
it's ripping it off. Yes.
I'm an adult watching that and I'm like, damn, this is kind of hardcore for a holiday movie that was released for, I guess, families to see. Like, oh, it's the guy from Ghostbusters. And Bill Murray hadn't been in a lot of movies. He'd been sort of taking a break for a few years. This was one of his big return performances. So people were probably like, oh boy, the guy from Ghostbusters is back with a new movie. So all the kids were probably going to see it. And that part's really, really over the top for this kind of film. But I think it works because it's the contrast in the way that he approaches the promo in the beginning. And of course, all his overreactions have become such touchstones. Like in my household, like, growing up, this was a movie we watched all the time. It was definitely one of the ones we made kind of prioritized every holiday season. I don't know if I was a child, like small child when I saw it, when it came out in theaters. So I don't know if I saw it in theaters. I would think probably not, because I would have been 5 and I hope that they wouldn't take me to see this. But I definitely saw it. And the other thing is too, I think I saw a taped off of TV version, because the one I grew up watching didn't have the Father Loves Beaver reference, and like
Father's Out Chasing Beaver. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so that was cut out for content, and then also for